So one is, scientifically, like the brain is more active when it's listening. So you're actually retaining more information, you're more attentive, right? And that's definitely a benefit if you're marketing and you're trying to put a message out there. But there's also a lot of research around sounds that are more pleasant to us as human beings, right? White noise is a very pleasant sound. Fingernails on a chalkboard isn't, right? And there's probably a million different sounds within the spectrum of that. And it's funny because if you think about the HBO sound, right, it's basically white noise, right? Very, very pleasant, scores very, very high when it comes to sonic identity. So yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a consideration. There's definitely an art and science to sound when it comes to brands.
Yeah, there's so much research that's done into things like the kind of music and sound that drives purchase consideration, for example, or that complements a retail experience. I mean, that whole multi-sensory retail experience, music is it's a huge part of that. I used to work with a company who specializes in creating soundscapes for wellness spaces, for example. I mean, and that's just really, I mean, that's a very kind of one end of the scale example, but shows how the sound is really important. If you got that wrong, that will completely alter your experience. Joe and I, as we've kind of been discussing potentially whether we kind of do a follow-up book, we've been talking a lot about the power of music and how it can really influence things positively in so many ways. And we've gone quite deep into research and all this about how music affects the brain, about how it can be used for healing, how it can be used for people who suffer from Alzheimer's and dementia. And I think all that research and all that work that's gone into that really demonstrates how much music and sound can really alter your experience and ultimately kind of even change how you consider a brand or whether you buy a brand or all those different things.
Yeah, I can totally relate to sounds at like a spa. Like I pay attention to those things because you're oftentimes your eyes are closed, and you're just like more aware of what's going on around you. But even when I'm shopping too, like sometimes if the music is weird, like I don't know, it just changes the experience.
Yeah, it completely does. And the best kind when brands get it right or retailers get it right is when you almost don't really notice it, but you feel it influencing your mood positively. There's a store, probably shouldn't mention the brand, but like a huge big brand on Oxford Circus in London that should be able to get this right, but the music is always so jarring and so loud and so alienating to most people who go in there. I think it's really detrimental to it, and I always really want to get hold of the person who's in charge of it and kind of work with them on how they can actually create a better experience in that way for their customers. So, but yeah, I mean, if they got the music wrong in a spa, or if they're playing Spotify and an ad comes on it, that's really going to ruin your experience.